100 million records sold, 11 Grammy Awards, a theme park built from scratch in the mountains where she was born with nothing, a children's literacy program that has put over 200 million free books into the hands of kids who might otherwise never have owned one. She is, by almost any measure, the most beloved woman in American music. And on January 19, 2026, the night the Grand Ole Opry threw a star-studded tribute for her 80th birthday, Dolly Parton was not there. She couldn't make it. She was home, quietly dealing with health problems she hadn't told anyone about, grieving a husband of 60 years she had buried just 10 months before, and trying, in her own words, to build herself back up spiritually, emotionally, and physically after a year that had worn her down to the bone. There's a certain kind of woman the world decides belongs to everyone. Her joy is public property. Her laughter is everyone's comfort. Her image, the big hair, the rhinestones, the wink, becomes a kind of national shorthand for optimism so durable it doesn't require explanation. And the tragedy of that kind of woman is that her pain never quite registers. Because how could someone who smiles like that be hurting? Dolly Parton has been hurting for a very long time. Not publicly, not dramatically, but in the particular, quiet way of people who have spent their whole lives turning pain into something beautiful enough to give away. So what is the real story underneath the sequins and the sunshine? How does a girl born so poor her father, the doctor with a bag of cornmeal, become one of the wealthiest, most generous, and most decorated entertainers in American history? What did it cost her? The body that couldn't carry children, the dark season when she thought about not going on, the marriage that lasted 60 years and ended in a room she didn't know how to leave. Why did the woman who wrote the most famous love song in country music history write it as a goodbye? And at 80 years old, standing alone at the edge of the life she built, what is Dolly Parton holding on to? To answer any of that, we have to go back, all the way back to a one-room cabin in the mountains with no electricity, no running water, and 12 children sleeping 2 and 3 to a bed. Dolly Rebecca Parton is born on January 19, 1946, the fourth of 12 children, in Pittman Center, Tennessee, in a cabin on the banks of the Little Pigeon River. The doctor who delivers her is paid with a bag of cornmeal. There is no electricity. There is no plumbing. The walls of the cabin are insulated with newspaper. The children share beds for warmth on cold mountain nights, and the cold nights in the Smoky Mountains are not metaphorical. They are physical, persistent, and entirely indifferent to how much love is in the room. And there is an enormous amount of love in the room. Her father, Robert Lee Parton, is a tobacco sharecropper who cannot read or write. He is smart in every way that doesn't require a book, sharp with numbers, precise with a horse trade, capable of stretching a small amount of money to cover needs that would have broken a less resourceful man. He works construction to supplement what the farm produces. He works the land with his hands because there is nothing else available to him, and he works it without complaint because the alternative is his children going hungry. Dolly will say, for the rest of her life, that he was one of the smartest people she ever knew. Her mother, Avie Lee, bears 12 children before the age of 35 and still somehow manages to fill the cabin with music. She knows old Appalachian ballads, ancient melodies that had crossed the Atlantic from Wales and Ireland and England centuries before, songs that had lived in the mountains long enough to become part of the air. She sings them to the children. She tells stories from Smoky Mountain folklore the way other families read bedtime books. She gives her children the thing no poverty can take from you, a language for what they feel. Dolly composes her first song at 5 years old. It is about a baby doll. At 7, she is playing a homemade guitar fashioned from an old mandolin and 2 bass guitar strings, performing at church where her grandfather, a Pentecostal preacher, pastors the congregation. At 10, she is on local Knoxville radio and television. At 13, she records her first singles. And through all of it, the bare floors, the newspaper walls, the hand, me, down everything, she is completely, unshakably certain about where she is going. She does not experience her childhood as deprivation. She will say this her entire life, and she will mean it. We didn't even know we were poor, she will say, until some smart elect told us. We were rich in the things money doesn't buy. And she means it with a completeness that comes from being raised in a home where love was not rationed just because food sometimes was. But she also means it with the complicated honesty of someone who understood from very early on that she was getting out, not abandoning the mountain, not escaping her people, getting out so she could come back bigger, give more, carry more, build something that would outlast her. The dream is there before the vocabulary for it. It is in her bones alongside the music. The morning after she graduates from Sevier County High School in 1964, she packs her bags and takes the first bus to Nashville. She is 18 years old. She has $30. On her first day in Nashville, Dolly Parton takes her dirty clothes to a laundromat called the Wishy Washy. While she is waiting for the machine to finish, a tall, bronzed young man drives past in a white Chevrolet and calls out the window, "You're gonna get sunburned out there, little lady." His name is Carl Dean. He is 21, the son of a Nashville family, and he runs an asphalt paving business with his father. He is everything Nashville is not going to offer her: quiet, private, completely uninterested in show business, and entirely focused on the girl standing outside the laundromat in the Tennessee sun. She will not get into his car. She is too country smart for that. But she invites him to visit her at her aunt and uncle's house the next day, and he comes, and she never quite stops looking for him after that. They date for 2 years. They marry on Memorial Day, 1966, in a small ceremony in Ringgold, Georgia. Just the two of them and a preacher and her mother and his. No fuss, no fanfare. Carl Dean will spend the next 6 decades actively avoiding every camera that tries to catch his face. He will go to Dollywood on his own, buy his own ticket, stand in his own line, and offer his wife notes on where they need more bathrooms. He will be, in the truest possible sense, the fixed point around which the entire hurricane of Dolly Parton's life revolves. Steady, private, proud, and completely unwilling to be in the spotlight even for a single moment of it. They assume they will have children. Everyone does in 1966. It is not a decision so much as a foregone conclusion. They don't do anything to prevent it. They don't particularly hurry it either. The years pass. The career accelerates. Nashville begins to notice what is standing in front of it. In 1967, Porter Wagoner, one of country music's biggest stars, with his own syndicated television show and a rhinestone suit collection that could blind you from across a room, offers Dolly Parton a slot as the female singer on his program. She is 21 years old. She has almost nothing. She says yes before he finishes the sentence. What follows is 7 years of professional partnership, so fruitful and so combustible that it will eventually produce the most recognizable country song ever recorded, though not for the reasons anyone would expect. Porter Wagoner gives Dolly Parton a national audience. He gets her signed to RCA Victor. He produces her records. He takes a complete unknown from Locust Ridge and puts her in front of millions of television viewers every week. And in return, she gives his show the thing it never had without her: a voice that could stop a room cold, and a songwriter's mind that was already operating at a level the industry would not fully understand for another decade. But Porter Wagoner also believes, with the unshakable certainty of a man who built something from nothing, that he knows what is best for Dolly Parton better than Dolly Parton does. He controls the recordings. He controls the schedule. He controls, in ways both spoken and unspoken, the shape of the career. And she lets him, for 7 years, because he has given her everything she needed, and because she has promised to stay for 5. By 1974, she has stayed for 7. Jolene has just gone to #1. She is 28 years old, and she can feel, with the clarity that comes to certain people about their own destiny, that if she does not leave now, she will never be able to leave at all. Porter Wagoner does not want her to go. He argues. He refuses. He cannot hear her reasons, because her reasons require him to accept that she is bigger than the space he has made for her, and she cannot explain it in any language that penetrates. So she goes home and does what she has always done with the things she cannot say out loud. She writes a song. She plays it for him the next morning. She asks him to sit down first. She plays every note of it, this soft, aching, grateful final song, and when she is finished, Porter Wagoner is crying. He says it is the prettiest song he ever heard. He says she can go. His only condition is that he gets to produce the record. That song is "I Will Always Love You," a farewell dressed up as a love song, an act of liberation wrapped in the most gracious possible goodbye. It will go to #1 twice for Dolly Parton. Whitney Houston will record it in 1992, and it will become one of the best-selling singles of all time. And every time it plays, somewhere in the world, it is still carrying that original meaning. I appreciate everything you gave me, I love you, and I have to go. Wagoner later sues her for $3 million. They don't speak for years. They reconcile in 2007, the year before he dies. She sings the song for him at the Grand Ole Opry to celebrate the 50th anniversary of his induction. He sits on a stool and cries again. She wipes away the tears with her hand. She means it just as much as she did the first time. The years after Porter Wagoner are the years of the full, blazing, unstoppable ascent. Here You Come Again. 9 to 5, written on a set, tapping out the beat on her acrylic nails because she didn't have a guitar. Dollywood, built in 1986 in Pigeon Forge, 13 miles from the cabin where she was born. An entire industry created in the mountains that made her, employing thousands of people who remind her of the family she came from. And underneath all of it, quiet and private and never fully discussed in public, the body that will not cooperate. By the early 1980s, Dolly Parton is in her mid-30s and the children she and Carl always assumed would come have still not come. She begins having what she will later describe as stomach problems and female problems, pain that builds, chronic and exhausting, that her doctors eventually identify as endometriosis. The tissue that should line only the inside of the uterus is growing outside it, causing the kind of pain that doesn't stop, the kind that interrupts everything including sleep. At 36, she undergoes a partial hysterectomy. The door that was always slightly ajar closes. She writes about what follows with the directness she brings to everything she doesn't want to dress up. Suddenly I was a middle-aged woman, she says. I went through a dark time. What she means is darker than she says. There is a period, her mid-30s. Her body changed against her will, the career enormous around her, and something fundamental gone from the inside of it. When she thinks about not going on, every day I thought, I wish I had the nerve to kill myself. She will say this years later, plainly, in the way she says things that need to be said plainly. She is telling the truth about what it cost. She is also telling the truth about what she found on the other side of it. She finds her faith again. She finds Carl again, steady Carl, who has never once made her feel that her body's refusal was a failure of love. She finds the work again, which has always been, for Dolly Parton, both the engine and the life raft. And she finds something else, the understanding that the children she could not have were never meant to be only hers. She starts the Imagination Library in 1995, one free book a month, from birth until the first day of school. She starts it in Sevier County, the county where she grew up, where her father could not read. She starts it because of him, because she watched a man of bottomless intelligence walk through life with one door permanently locked. And she decides she is going to spend the rest of her life making sure no child has to live inside that particular room. The program eventually reaches children in 6 countries. By 2026, it has delivered more than 200 million books. It is, by any calculation, one of the most impactful literacy initiatives in the history of the English-speaking world. Started by a woman who was trying to turn her grief into something she could give away. God didn't let me have children, she will say later, so all children could be mine. She means it. And it is also the thing she says, because it is the truest possible version of what happened, and because the other version, the surgery at 36, the dark time, the days when she wished she had the nerve, is not a version she owes anyone. She transforms it the way she transforms everything. She makes it a gift. The decades pass. The career evolves in ways no one anticipates. The pop crossover, the film work, the inductions and the honors and the accolades that pile up faster than anyone can count them. Jeff Bezos gives her $100 million for her foundation. She gives it all away. She declines a Presidential Medal of Freedom twice, saying she doesn't feel she deserves it, before finally accepting in 2022. She is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the same year, an institution she initially asked not to be nominated for, because she didn't think she was rock enough. The voters put her in anyway. She performs a blistering set at the ceremony that ends all argument, and through all of it, the stadiums, the Grammys, the Glastonbury headlining slot at 68, the Netflix holiday specials, the Rockstar album at 77 that features rock legends who have spent their careers studying her, Carl Dean home in Nashville, occasionally buying a ticket to Dollywood, and standing in line with everyone else, because he would never dream of using his wife's name to cut ahead. She has loved him since she was 18. She has never, in 60 years, stopped loving him. He is the only man she has ever wanted. When a red-headed bank teller starts paying him too much attention in the early 1970s, she writes Jolene, not out of rage, but out of terror. The terror of almost losing the one person who has always looked at her face instead of the spectacle. She handles the situation, as she handles most things, by turning it into something so beautiful that the thread inside it disappears. In the last years of his life, Carl Dean is ill. Dolly keeps this private, as she has always kept Carl private, which is the deepest form of protection she knows how to offer. She is with him. She is always with him, the way he was always with her. The home they have made together, away from the cameras, the sequins, the global brand of Dolly Parton, is still, after 60 years, the realest place she knows. On March 3, 2025, Carl Thomas Dean dies in Nashville at the age of 82. Dolly Parton announces it in a brief statement. "Carl and I spent many wonderful years together," she writes. "Words can't do justice to the love we shared for over 60 years." She releases a song 4 days later. It is called "If You Hadn't Been There." She wrote it for him. Like all great love stories, she writes on social media, they never end. They live on in memory and song. "He will always be the star of my life story." The months that follow are the hardest she has known since her mid-30s. The grief wears her down in ways she did not anticipate, even though she knew it was coming. She develops health problems, a kidney stone infection, then complications, then undisclosed procedures that force her to cancel her Las Vegas residency and withdraw from public life. For the better part of 6 months, she misses the Grand Ole Opry tribute on her 80th birthday. She misses the Academy Governor's Award, where she was to receive a humanitarian Oscar. She is home, doing the things you do when your body and your heart have both taken more than they can hold. She turns 80 on January 19, 2026. On her birthday, she releases a new recording of Light of a Clear Blue Morning, a song she wrote in 1977 about the first morning she felt free, featuring Reba McEntire, Queen Latifah, Lainey Wilson, and her goddaughter Miley Cyrus. U2's Bono sends a bagpiper to her door as a surprise. She posts photos of herself with a butterfly cake and a fire extinguisher because the candles got out of hand. She makes her first public appearance in 6 months on March 13, 2026, 2 days before this video was made, at the opening of Dollywood's 41st season. She stands on that stage, the mountain behind her, the park built from nothing below her, and she tells the truth about the year. "I just kinda got worn down and worn out," she says. "Grieving over Carl and a lot of other little things going on. I needed to build myself back up, spiritually, emotionally, and physically." She says it with the particular Dolly Parton quality that is the hardest thing in the world to fake. Warmth that has not been diminished by any of the things that tried to diminish it. She jokes that she is not dating anybody. She jokes that if she showed up at the pearly gates with someone else, Carl would not be pleased. She wipes her eyes. She says she can feel him every day. "Never forget who you are," she tells the crowd. "Never forget where you came from, and always kind of go back home. You can always go back home in your heart and in your mind." This is the reality of Dolly Parton at 80, not the triumph story, though the triumph is real and it is staggering, not the folklore, though the folklore is also real and it is beautiful. The reality is a woman who was born with nothing and built everything, who carried pain so quietly for so long that the world mistook the smile for the absence of the wound, who wanted children and couldn't have them, and turned that grief into 200 million books, who wrote the most famous goodbye in country music history just to get out of a room without breaking someone's heart on the way out, who loved one man, only one man, for 60 years, and is now learning for the first time in her adult life what a morning feels like when he isn't in it. She is, at 80, still working, still writing, still brighting. She is rewriting songs for a Broadway musical about her life that is set to open in New York later this year. She is rebuilding, in her own words, from the inside out. The question worth sitting with is this: not about the fame or the fortune or the songs that have outlasted every expectation. Just this: in the people you love who seem the happiest, the ones who laugh the loudest and give the most. Is there something underneath that you have never asked about? Something they have turned into a gift so many times that you have forgotten it was ever a wound? Because the woman who gave the world "I Will Always Love You" wrote that song on the worst morning of a professional year that had already asked too much of her. And it is the most generous thing anyone has ever said goodbye with. That is Dolly Parton. That has always been Dolly Parton. Subscribe for more untold stories of the legends who shaped our world. The most extraordinary people you will ever meet are the ones who turn their hardest mornings into something they can give to you.